going on, guys? Neil here with Malone Knives. This is part 2 of our Damascus Wingman build. Check out part 1 if you haven't done so. I'll put a link to that video somewhere in here so you can go check that out. So we're going to be putting the handles on this little guy today. We'll be putting some carbon fiber scales along with some acid green liners. I think it's going to look really nice. Let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is get our scales cut to length and get our liners cut to length as well and get these glued together. Being this is carbon fiber, this is some pretty nasty stuff to work with. You don't want to breathe in these fibers. It'll get all over your skin. You can't wash it off. You'll have black spots on your skin for days. So I'm going to put on a long sleeve shirt and a pair of gloves, and also make sure you wear a respirator if you're working with this. So I'm going to get all that stuff on. We'll go over to the bandsaw, cut these to length, and get them glued up. Okay guys, to start with, I'm just going to mark how long we need to cut these. This knife is so small I can get one set of handle scales out of one scale. So I'm just going to mark how long these need to be cut, and we'll go over to the bandsaw and cut these. Okay, so I'm just going to cut these two lines, and this will be our scales on the ends here. And I'll have a nice little centerpiece here that I can make some bolsters or a two-tone handle or something with later. Let's go get these cut. All right, it's a few hours later now, and our scales or our liners should be nice and set up by now. So go ahead and take them off the clamps. Oh yeah, it's good and cured. So we can go ahead and get started putting these on the knife. Awesome. So I'll take you over here where I got the knife. Alright guys, got the knife here and got the scales, and it looks like there's just some dried epoxy that kind of got on the back of these. So I'm just going to take this over and hit these on the belt sander real quick and just knock that epoxy off. Okay, I got that all sanded off. Also went ahead and just hit the front of these scales on the belt sander while I was over there, just to get that nice and smooth and flush. From here, I like to leave the scales just as they would be on the knife, with the liners facing each other. And I'll take the knife and just put it on top of the scales. Then I'll take a clamp and clamp that together. Then we can take it over to the drill press and drill out our pinhole and our lanyard tube. Okay guys, so usually I just go ahead and drill straight through and put our pin in place. But being these are carbon fiber, it has a real tendency to splinter when you come through the other side. It'll break and splinter. So what I'm going to try on our smaller hole, I'm just going to get it started and then take the clamp off, so I can then lay our scales flat on this 2x4, and that should hold it and support it in the back enough to keep it from splintering. So we're going to give that a shot and see what happens. Okay, I've got it started just enough to mark where that pinhole is. So I'm going to take the knife off. You can see it's marked there. So I'm just going to continue drilling. Lay this flat on our 2x4. And that should hold it in place enough, or support it enough, to where it's not going to splinter when it comes through the other side. So it didn't splinter at all. So that'll work really well on smaller holes. We may try something a little different on our lanyard hole because it's a bigger hole. So I may start out drilling our lanyard with this size drill bit, and then work our way up to the bigger one. Okay, so there's our lanyard hole. It's obviously too small. So I'm going to start out with this smaller bit, and we'll put our larger bit in there for the lanyard tube and see if we can drill that out bigger. without splittering it. Looks good. No splinters, no blowouts. It's got to take your time on this carbon fiber. Step it up if it's a bigger hole like that. Make sure you got something to support it. It does good. Alright, so I've got it all drilled and pinned. And I went ahead and cut our pins and our lanyard tube. And I tried to cut these as close to the finished length that we're going to need as I possibly could, because I don't want to do a lot of sanding. As little sanding as possible on the surface, because I don't want to mess up that awesome carbon fiber look. So very light sanding. I'm probably going to go ahead and polish the ends of these pins. Minimal sanding once I get all this assembled and glued to the knife. So the next step here, we're just going to take and trace the profile of the knife out onto the handles. Then we can take it over to our bandsaw and cut that out. Okay, so normally I would go ahead and glue the scales up at this point and let them set up overnight, and come back and go ahead and do the final shaping on our handles. But since this is a Damascus blade and I want that pattern, I want to be able to see that pattern all the way around the knife and the belly and the spine. What I'm going to do in this case is go ahead and just dry fit these handles. Just put them on here without gluing them. Put our pins in place. Then go ahead and do the final shaping on our handles. Get them exactly where we want them. And then I can take them back off and re-etch this blade to bring that pattern back out. And then glue up our handles. So I'm going to go ahead and dry fit these. Something like that. I'm going to go ahead and do the final shaping and profiling, and then we'll glue them up. Alright, so this is where we're at, guys. Turn my hat around. I don't look good with a hat backwards. But this is where we're at. You see what I'm talking about here? Once you start shaping the handles, you're inevitably going to get into the finish of your spine and your belly. So just want to be able to take these handles back off so I can re-etch this blade and bring that pattern back out. So I'm going to go ahead and continue shaping this just by hand. We'll just work with it now as if this was a glued up handle, and go ahead and get the handle completely finished, and then we'll go ahead and glue it up. Okay guys, so I've got this pretty well sanded down to where I want it. Been working on these pins, you know, nothing is glued up yet. So I've been working on, excuse my finger, apparently shoving your knuckle into a 2x72 grinder is not a good thing. But I've been working on these pins, and I was going to try to not have to sand the surface of the carbon fiber because I don't like messing up the factory finish. So I've been trying to you know, sand these down, put it in here, fit it in place, pull it back out, sand it down, fit it in place, and I've got the pin just almost perfect, but I can't get the lanyard tube. It's too much of a pain in the butt. So I broke down and went and got the stuff I need to repolish the carbon fiber. I was just trying to avoid going out to buy that, but I went in and got it. Just some McGuire's rubbing compound, and then McGuire's Tech Wax 2.0, and this will allow me just to go ahead and glue up the handle and sand the flats here to get the pins and everything nice and even, and then we can go ahead and bring the texture of the carbon fiber back to where it is using the wax. So I'm going to take the scales off, go ahead and redip the blade to get the Damascus pattern back out, and then we'll glue these up. Just going to go ahead and put my maker's mark on the blade before we put the handles on. So I got the maker's mark on the blade, went ahead and re-etched the knife so you got the pattern all the way around. And now we're going to glue up the scales, and hopefully I can polish these back out. We'll see. Okay, so we've got it sanded up. Just got all the epoxy off. Got the pins sanded back. So you can see the carbon fiber is a little duller than it was because we had the sand on it. So the way we're going to bring that back, just got this Meguiar's rubbing compound, just for automotive use, and the Meguiar's Tech Wax, again for automotive use. Got some microfiber rags, and you want to take your rag and just lay it out on a flat hard surface, starting with your rubbing compound. Just put a little compound on your microfiber towel, and just start rubbing that in. This is the abrasive part of the polishing. This is actually what's going to make it shine. Rub it back and forth every direction you can. Put light to medium pressure when you're rubbing it, and do this for 3 to 4 solid minutes. Just try to get every angle you can on the surface of that carbon fiber, because this abrasive action is what's actually going to polish it. It's basically a high grit sandpaper. It's going to polish it back to like it was from the factory. So once we're done with this, we'll do this for 3 or 4 minutes. We're going to take it and rinse it with some hot water just to get all the residue off, and then we'll come back with the waxing part of it. Okay, we've got the rubbing compound washed off, and I've just taken a paper towel and just dried it off, dried the water off, get it completely dry. Then we'll take, got a fresh new microfiber towel, and now we're going to take the Meguiar's Tech Wax and just basically repeat that process, this time using the wax. Just apply a good liberal amount to your microfiber cloth. Make sure you hold it tight. And again, just go in every direction. And do this again for 3 to 4 minutes. And once we have this done, I'll come back and show you what we got. Okay guys, here's the end result. So once you put the rubbing compound and then wax it, it brings back that shine, just like new. So yeah, this knife is getting really close to being done. I went ahead, I didn't film this, but I went ahead and added the jimping we put into the spine. I put that into the handle as well. Just to add a little more grip. And I think that's going to work out pretty good. So yeah, the next step is I'm just going to put an edge on it, sharpen it up, and this will be done. So let's get to sharpening it. Alright guys, that just about does it for this one. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I think that carbon fiber looks really good with those green liners. All we got left to do on this guy is to make the sheath for it, and then we'll be shipping it out to its new owner in Sweden. Who, by the way, designed this knife. He came up with the idea for the carbon fiber with the green liners, the thumb jimping here, and I think it turned out great. So we're going to get this boxed up, get a sheath made, get it boxed up, and get it shipped out to Sweden. Appreciate you watching, guys. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the next build. See you guys.